Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel. In this video today, guys, I'm putting myself into your shoes. I'm thinking to myself, if I was a new player playing SO5 for the first time, first opening my Sorare account, and I was on like a normal kind of budget, started off with limiteds, how would I go and approach this kind of dip that we're in at the moment? Last week I dropped kind of the same video, but with a Champion Euro lens on it. That'll be linked in the description down below if you want to go and check that video out. But for this segment today, I'm going into the Challenger Euro region. Now, the Challenger Euro region is every league in Europe that's not the top 5 leagues of, England, Spain, France, Germany and Italy. So this region is always the one I recommend to people when they are new or when they're on a budget, because as a region it just offers so much potential. Like a lot of the bigger clubs especially that operate in that region feed the Champion Euro club. So even if you are aspiring to move into that kind of region or whatever, you'll find lots of great profiles of players across this region, lots of different shapes and sizes to all different types of budgets that offer a wide range of utility. So I thought, let's just get my teeth right into this, really try and put the slate clean and think I'm starting with nothing. How would I want to try and compose the squad? So for the video today, guys, I've prepared basically what would become in an ideal situation when everything's playing and running, like maybe 3 lineups, and when things are lean on and off season, you've still always got 1 or 2 knocking around. At any point in the video today, guys, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe and share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. In the comment section down below, let me know anyone you would add into this in terms of clubs or positions or anything that we discuss in the video. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and they'll probably feature on the next video we do in this little kind of buying the dip mini series, if you like. Stay out of trouble and let's get stuck into it. If you could hit the subscribe button, I do daily global football content, everything from Wonder Kids and Rising Star Managers to fantasy football and watch-alongs. That will also automatically enter you into my April giveaway. This month, I'm giving away a 1 of 100 Belgium Youth International, Ewood Pletench, and 2 limited goalkeepers. If you want to stick around to the end of the video, we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, the way I've personally built and refined my gallery over the last 2 years or so has always been with this constant kind of urge to squeeze as much utility out of every purchase and every card, every position that I possibly can. So when I come into the Challenger Euro region, right now is the optimal time to get scouting for next season. Okay, this is at point of recording the 26th of April 2022. By all intents and purposes, when you look across the major divisions in Challenger Euro, like there's some titles still to be won and some things to be ironed out with some of the European spots, but in almost every country there is European spots confirmed to a select number of clubs, and those are the ones that I'm looking to target. I'm not necessarily looking for the ones that could go on to, or maybe they qualify for Champions League. I'm actually just really motivated at this stage, if I'm starting with 0, to get guys that are going to be in qualification cycles for Europe more than anything, because if you get into Champions League qualification, if you lose like every game, you'll still end up in the Conference League, kind of thing. And like Europa League, like depending on when you go to that, again, you can end up in the Conference League. In the Conference League, if you're a big enough team in the qualifiers there, you'll probably go to the groups. So I want teams that I can foresee having like a good time in Europe between now and, or not between now, but from the start of next season until the World Cup, because that's all we're really going to get until everything stops for the World Cup. So the little batch of clubs I've identified across Challenger Euro that I'm going to be looking at. Now, I must say I have discounted Russia because of the obvious geopolitical stuff that's going on there. But outside of that, for me, as I look across Europe, the best kind of clubs that I'm looking to target and pick the pieces of the puzzle out for what will become my new squad would be Sturm Graz of Austria. They look all but confirmed at this stage to be getting into qualification cycles. Same with Club Brugge in Belgium. Aalborg, who's the only Danish club we actually have licensed, but they're in a great position for European qualification. Celtic and Hearts, of course, new additions to the platform. Benfica in Portugal and Konyaspor over in Turkey. As I've spoke about on the channel before, I think there's a huge value in getting a Turkish contingent into any beginner squad, because it's just got the biggest fixture list without any sort of real seasonal off seasons and breaks and whatnot. So getting a proven starter in the Turkish league is always going to be good for weekends, because there's so much utility possible. And also, if you've got a Turkish team that is getting into midweek football, also the utility potential is just apex. It really is. As with the other clubs, like Sturm Graz been one of the dominant teams in their league, as well as like Benfica, of course. Hearts are up there at the moment as well, and the same can be said, I suppose, for Aalborg. So domestically, I expect these guys to do pretty well next season. You know, they don't necessarily need to be a title winning team, but they'll win more games than they'll lose is the base idea here, as well as having that midweek, you know, that early utility cycle, because if like you're qualifying from the Turkish league into Europe, you're going to be well seeded before the club seeding part comes into it, because the way the whole format is at the moment. Same with Club Brugge, very strong squad, lots of great talent across there. Okay, so we're going to start with the goalkeepers. Okay, now I'm only going to be going for 3 goalkeepers in this kind of squad. Now I'm not going to go and buy every card that's in this video on day one, but this is like the list that I would make, you know. So I would make this kind of list out that I've got here in front of me with all the sort of profiles that are here, and over time with, like, you know, wins that I've maybe got already, if I've already got cards on the platform or whatever, or if I'm introducing new money, if I'm making deposits, the kind of auctions that I'll be looking to capitalise on when they go quiet. Maybe it's a midnight auction and you can maybe get one like 5% under the normal price of it, that kind of idea. So with goalkeepers, I don't want to mess about. I don't want any guys that are, oh, maybe they're the first team guy, maybe they get a transfer, etc. The first goalkeeper that just rings is like safest houses for Challenger Euro is Simon Mignolet, the current number 1 goalkeeper of Club Brugge. If you're not aware of Simon Mignolet, then I don't know where you've been for the last 10 years. Not that he's a big deal necessarily, but, you know, Premier League goalkeeper for a number of years, and with Brugge been in Europe since his return to Bruges, he's been featuring in European football, so you'll probably be aware, on top of that, with his limited Belgian national team contributions, of who he is, and he's a decent enough keeper, and at the age he's at as well, it's not as if there's any real threat of him retiring tomorrow, if you like. The next one would be Sehic of Konyaspor. The interesting thing about Sehic is he's also the international goalkeeper for Bosnia, so he's going to give us some international utility as well when it is like Nations League and Euro qualifiers, that kind of thing, when they come back around. And the third goalkeeper I'd be looking to pick up would be Joe Hart. Now Celtic, if we win the league, and it feels like it's a when rather than an if at this stage, but if we win the league, we go straight into the group stages of the Champions League, so I'm not going to be getting any European qualification cycle utility out of any Celtic cards, but knowing that they're going into the group stages is giving me guaranteed utility no matter what. If everything else fell off the face here, you know, and really did badly, I don't want to be left with no midweek utility, so I get some guaranteed output from that. Now Celtic in the group stages, we do need a favourable draw, because like if we get like PSG and Bayern and that kind of stuff, like we have been spanked in the past, and it's not off the cards necessarily. I would hope it wouldn't happen, but you can't rule it out, to be quite honest. All 3 of those goalkeepers are not cheap, but they're very moderately priced, especially at limited level, and as I say, for the utility that they're likely to offer with midweeks as well as dominant weekends with the domestic fixtures that they have, they're very safe options. And goalkeeper, for the guys that I'm going to use in SO5, I don't like to mess about with if, buts and maybes. Yeah, sure, if you've got any of those guys you want to trade on, fair enough. Another one I would add into the list, and this is for you to get on your favourites list, get the email notifications on for, is Craig Gordon of Hearts. Currently doesn't have a card at the moment, isn't even pictured at the moment. God knows when that card will come on, but if it was to come on the sneaky, if it was to come on the fly, because we have seen some new faces that's happened with, then he could go very underpriced. He's a very old goalkeeper, but he's not like going to retire anytime soon. He will be the number 1 for Hearts, and if Hearts, I think Hearts at the moment, because of the way it is with cups and whatever, I think they're guaranteed like a high like kind of qualification. They may even be qualified, they may even be guaranteed minimum group stage, you know, for Conference League, just because of the way it's all panned out. I'm not too sure, don't quote me on that just yet, but by and large it's the same principle. Now for the outfield positions, I'm going to be taking 5 defenders. The first defender I'm going to take is from Sturm Graz, and that's Jan Gorenc Stankovic. Okay, now I was actually really close to picking this guy's unique up like the day before the SPFL got announced. Imagine I'd done that. This guy's listed as a defender, but he plays defensive midfield most of the time, and you know, he's a former Dortmund youth prospect. He's not really an international, he makes the bench for his national team, but he's a handy midfielder. He plays like every game, and he is listed as a defender. He does suffer a little bit more from those like possession loss statistics, but in games where Sturm Graz are going to dominate possession and whatnot, getting those final third passes and attempted assists, that kind of thing, as infrequent as they can be, they are possible. And if you look at his previous statistics, he has done pretty well for goal, you know, decisive action contributions as well. So this is a guy who will come in very cheap because he looks like 35 in his picture, but he's actually 25. But he's got a good game base, and you just need some good results, and this guy is capable of breaking the 70s. The next one is Rasmus Telhander. Now this guy's limited, can be picked up for €5. It's on my Sorare data at the moment. You know, he's 30 years of age. Aalborg are going to be in European qualification cycles and whatnot. It looks pretty good for them. They've got a little bit of utility at the moment, which is nice, as well as most of these teams, of course. do at this stage of the season, but when you look at his the bar chart of where his scores tend to land, this guy is very 70 plus capable, and for somebody who's like €5 for a limited, it just makes absolute sense. Now, I do have my own personal biases, as you guys will be aware. I'm a Man City fan, so like Nicholas Otamendi is for me one of the best picks in Challenger. Now, he is 34, but he is 100 capable for a centre back. He has goal possible. He's also a red card merchant, it must be said. But when you look at his scores, man, they are undeniable. As long as he stays number one centre back pairing for Benfica next season, like this is going to be rinse and repeat almost. He's still an Argentina international, so he will go along with Sejic in goals for those international periods if we can get Argentina fixtures lined up with like Bosnia and that kind of stuff, which isn't a big stretch. You know, international windows all happens together now. Now for me, Karl Starfelt is probably the most nailed on at this point in time defender for Celtic. And if you're going to be back in Celtic next season, like, yeah, you can speculate on a Carter Vickers with us maybe signing him. Yeah, you can get a Ralston for when he comes in, when he's the number one right back, and you can get a Greg Taylor who's okay as well. But Starfelt will play centre back next year, no two ways about it, and his scores are repeatable from where they are now. Same manager, same system, etc, etc. And for the sort of price he's at, when you compare him to Otamendi, for example, like they're basically the same price. He's much younger, it's like 8 years younger, but you just maybe have less of that European dominant potential. You know, Benfica this year of course did very well in Europe, and again they're very strong in Europe typically. So there's a bit of a trade-off there in terms of what you're going to get on the midweeks, and of, you know, Starfelt's also getting into Sweden squads. He's not quite the number one centre-back pairing, but he's getting into squads. Maybe with time, maybe he will force his way into the team. Who knows? And then the last player I'd be picking up would be Stephen Kingsley. You know, takes set pieces, so his scores are jacked. He's very decisive, capable, and he, you know, for the price you can be picking him up for €25 with Hearts midweek utility that will be there for them next year. Now, Hearts, I wouldn't expect him to be doing amazing in Europe, because Scottish teams outside of the Old Firm, even if the Old Firm, tend to do pretty bad in Europe. So I don't want to be going too heavy on Hearts, but I think with his scores and like the sort of games, if they're going to be successful for the midweeks as well as at the weekends, like his scores will be good. He's one of those players in their team, and it's that same kind of motivation that I'm really running with in midfield. Now the midfield is mean and lean. There's really no prisoners taken here. I'm going number one with Lord Vanaken. So Hans Vanaken would be the first one I would be taking into my midfield. He's by far and away the most expensive player in the team that we've featured so far, but I think for the price you really know what you're getting. He's the 4th best midfielder in the game, 12th best player in the game overall, and for limited next season, like there's as many limiteds at the moment as there is rares of him, which just goes to show how many rares he's had issued and how little limiteds have actually been issued for this season. So having a Vanaken locked in, get the XP up ahead, as much ahead of time as you possibly can for next year, I think would be a very good strategy. And he's very low risk in the sense of your SO5 potential. As long as he stays fit and available, you know, his scores are just testament now. You know, like you just know what you're going to get from him. Now the next one comes to us from our boy Harry Trades. He's high on this guy, and he's probably the main reason that this guy's even on my radar in any way, shape or form, and that's Lucas Anderson of Aalborg. Now the kind of centre attacking midfielder is just coming back from an injury or something like that, I believe, but he's been out for ages. But typically if you look at his entire graph, he's a decent scorer. He can be a decent enough scorer anyway in that team with some decisive actions and whatnot. Because of his L5, his L15, his L40 being so low, you can pick him up for about €20 or so. He's quite cheap, and if he was to pay off, you know, the upside could be very good on something like that. Now, what I'll be in the short term referring to probably is the cheap man's Vanaken, which is Callum McGregor. Okay, of course I'm biased, but at the moment his limited is going for about €80 or something like that at the moment. And again, very similar to Vanaken in the sense that like you can just look at his all-time score graph, and you can see what McGregor can do for you when he's getting decisive actions and he's playing every week in a very good attacking Celtic team. This season's been good for Celtic, don't get me wrong, and I say we should win the league, but it's not been like our best performance like from start to finish of a season. You know, you just need to think about the Brendan Rodgers years we had recently. It's very feasible that this team could hit those highs again, or maybe even surpass them in terms of their actual on-pitch output. So I think for the sort of price you're getting, you know, a Callum McGregor for, he's a fraction of the price of a Vanaken, for example. It doesn't take too much for a lot of his scores to be replicated, so I would definitely be picking one of him up for next season with that kind of angle in mind also. Now in defence, you might want to add in like a Guilherme of Konyaspor. He's very reliable also, but I've only, on top of the goalkeeper, opted to bring in a midfielder. Now I actually have this guy's limited already, and that is Amir Hadzimetovic. Okay, now this guy is like €78 or so at the moment. His L5 is 65, his L15 is 63. This guy plays every game. every game. He's also a Bosnia international, so you will get midweek utility out of him, or pardon me, international utility, as well as the midweek with Konyaspor. His scores, like if you look at his chart, like they're it's a very nice graph, it must be said, but there's like no amber. Like when you look at the bar charts, it's incredible. He's very underrated in that respect, and I've had his limited for ages. 30th best midfielder on the platform, and yeah, he wears green and white hoops as well. Now, I do need to have some speculation in my squad, and I think out of all the teams I've highlighted, the kind of speculation I would be interested in doing with these types of players is I would be looking at bringing a Paulo Bernardo. Okay, now he's a 20-year-old midfielder at Benfica, looks to be breaking through into the first team. His limited at the moment is about €56, and on top of the other 4 guys already listed, Vanaken, McGregor, Hadzimetovic, Lucas Anderson, we've got like a very solid stable there of guys that should play every week. This guy, I expect to play a lot more next season than he has this year. He's been doing better and better as time goes on. You can look at his scores and his minutes that he's been picking up. It's just been increasing as the years went on. And Benfica have got a great track record of bringing guys in from their academy. They've got one of the best academies in the world, without a shadow of a doubt. And at €56, it's a very safe get as well. We don't need to rely on him, we don't need to put too much pressure on him. He is U23, but we don't have any other U23 goalkeepers or anything like that, so I'm not having that pressure on him utility wise to come in and play. Maybe he's a guy that comes in when I know it's going to be like Benfica against Santa Clara, and I've already seen from Sorare Portugal, or I've seen on the Benfica page that this guy's going to play, or whatever, and you can target good fixtures with some of these players. That's also an angle that they offer you in Challenger Euro, is sometimes like Celtic's fixture might be stinking, but Benfica's is great, so you don't play the McGregor, you play this guy. That kind of versatility is what we're after. Now with the forward category, I'm actually boosting up to 6 positions for this. Okay, now forwards are the most streaky position. You need to catch them when they're hot in form, when they're catching goals and assists, that sort of thing. So many forward players, especially outside of the elite level, are streaky, and you need to accept that when you're buying them, and you need to try and do your best to have enough options and enough variety that you can try and catch different streaks as they're happening, rather than trying to chase the hot one that's on the now. I wish I bought that guy yesterday, he just scored a hat-trick. Well, guess what, when you buy him, you're not going to get that hat-trick. He's already done it. He's not going to do it next week, or maybe he will, but you know what I mean? You want to get these guys and try and catch them when they hit their streaks, and try and keep your finger on the pulse with when they're getting played, when the fixture list eases up, or whatever rotation is on the go at the club. And the first 2 strikers are from the same team. They're both from Sturmgrass. The first one is Manfred Sakaria. Okay, now he can be picked up at limited for €95. His L5 is 61, and he's just really suffered from a lack of minutes earlier on in this, previously in the season, a lot of sub appearances, but when he is starting and playing, he is 100 capable, he's 80 plus capable, he's 70 plus capable, definitely domestically. And if he is going to be one of their main strikers for next season in their European outings, if they are to beat a team 2-0 or 1-0 or whatever, there's a good chance that this guy and his strike partner Rasmus Højlund is going to be in amongst it with him as well. Both these guys again are starting almost every game at the moment, and just as the seasons went on, they've got gradually better and better. Højlund especially, like early season was just subbing, and then he's really hit form recently and broken into the team, and he looks like a bit of a kid, so as long as he can keep that up, he might be really sneaky. He's trading it out. His limited is about €154, so you are paying a wee bit of a U23 premium on him because he is only 19 years of age. But him along with Sakaria and some of these other combinations we've already got Gorenk in this team back in defence. You can really try and attack certain fixtures with that kind of trifecta, if you like. And then from Celtic, I think the only player in the Celtic forwards line for next season who is going to be as close to rotation proof as it gets is Daisen Maeda. So Daisen Maeda is Ange's guy. He is like the epitome of this big high press, we never give up stuff that Ange is all about. I think next season, like Abada will rotate for minutes with him. I think Jota, Kyogo, Giacomakis, there's lots of other guys who will be rotating in and out, but I do feel that Maeda is going to be the one that gets the least amount of rotation and will play the biggest games at all times because of his unique abilities that he offers and the unique distinct difference that he makes to the way Celtic play in the big occasions, in the big games when it matters the most. His limited at the moment at £111. I think for a standalone card, you're not really, I know we've got three other Celtic cards in here, but even you don't even really need this guy as part of a stack, really, to be honest with you, because his striker output is solid and it's consistent, and even if you were just to plug him in on top of some of these other pieces, depending on where the fixtures lie, he's a very safe option for a standalone striker. Now, what you find in historically anyway, in my experience of the SPFL, is most clubs, their goals are concentrated into like a striker normally, you know. So like if Hearts do well, Aberdeen does well, Rangers, Celtic, any of these teams, Hibs, Hearts, whatever, they tend to have a striker that will break 10 to 15 goals or more, kind of thing. Liam Boyce came to prominence when he'd done that before. I think it was for like Ross County or something like that. I think he went to the Championship and stuff. But anyway, finds himself at Hearts. I might be wrong on all that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And again, Hearts with their European stable, Liam Boyce is the big money striker at the team, if you like. He's had an okay season this year. He's not scored as many as he's done previously in his career, but you would expect him to be the number one striker again next year. And if he's playing midweeks, international potential as well with Liam Boyce being Northern Irish. And again, for his limited, I'm just looking at that now, 11 quid. It's not that bad, is it? Just to throw that in, and it's a nice wee plug and play option. If other guys, their fixture isn't good or they're injured, suspended, whatever, it's very low risk on this one, to be honest with you, is the way I look at it. And then to finish up my 6 kind of strikers, I'm going with a Benfica pair, okay? So I'm going to be going with Goncalo Ramos. Now, it's almost guaranteed at this stage that Darwin Núñez will leave. Goncalo Ramos, by the way, has played just as much, if not more, than Darwin this year. You know, when I had my Darwin card, I always hated seeing this guy in the starting 11 because it normally meant that Darwin was on the bench, maybe not available, just back from his surgery or injured or getting minutes rotated, that kind of idea. And you know, the last couple of weeks, especially the last couple of months, he has started to get more and more attention. His scores have got into the greens more and more often, which is nice. And I think at the moment, at €138, he's a wee bit pricey for what he is, but with the impending departure of Darwin Núñez, I only see his role growing in the team. And him alongside my last one, which is Everton of Benfica as well, at €34. He is a Brazil international. I don't really see him going to the World Cup or anything like that. If he does, he's not going to be a starter. He will be a rotation piece. He does get some call-ups. It has happened, you know. He is decisive, capable. When he signed for Benfica, I was actually really motivated to go and buy him. And then it was super expensive, and I thought I'd wait for it to die down, and then his scores kind of died away. But this guy, like when he hits, like he can hit big scores. He's just been quite flaky at his first season and a half, maybe it is, with Benfica. Promised a lot of stuff. I had some big links to some big teams in Europe in the Premier League before going to Benfica. And again, at €34, I think it's a very it's a very easy entry point. Now guys, with those 19 cards, what I'd be looking to do once I've assembled them is getting ready for next season, for the 22-23 season. I'd be looking to play the best team I possibly could in Specialist Limited if these guys offered the criteria to make that happen. All-Star Limited and then Challenger Limited as well. There's no U23 there, of course, but we've got enough of a little international footprint with Hadzimetovic, McGregor, Otamendi, Sehic, Boyce, Maida, all these guys are internationals. Maybe you get Starfelt in there as well. So you've got like a nice plethora of utility for midweeks with qualification cycles for UEFA competitions, as well as the potential for international football as well. And there's a nice array there of entry points, you know, even if you're at the start with picking up like the smallest, cheapest ones first and then work your way up. I'm not even saying this is the best team you should be getting, but what I've tried to lay out in this video as best I possibly could is the sort of profiles and like when you're building your first team, especially when you're trying to lay out a considered strategy, you want to have as little put up to risk and put up to chance as possible. So as much as some of these guys aren't sexy players and they're not like, you know, the next big thing, the next wonder kid on the street or whatever, there's a lot of certainty with a lot of these cards, and for a lot of them the entry price is very appealing. On top of this as well, you can maybe even throw in the goalkeeper at Aalborg, Jacob Reina, which, you know, for a challenger goalkeeper is fine. You've got great utility with the Sehic already because he's Turkish, you know, Turkish league, but maybe that Reina one can fill in because the Danish league has an odd fixture schedule. It can maybe fill in some gaps and whatever. But that's the sort of thing I'd be looking at, and it's great with these numbers as well because it gives you the option of going double defender in one, double midfielder in another, double forward in another, or whatever, and then you still have like a full line of spares. You know, you still have lots of combinations, lots of options. You've got enough depth where you can really pick and choose your battles on fixtures, form and fitness. The 3 Fs are so rare. If you haven't caught that video, I'll link in the description down below since I've referenced it. But that's what I would be setting out for from Challenger Euro in terms of this little kind of dip. I'd look for some of these guys to dip further because as the end of the season winds down, with every game week that goes by, that's one less game they've got of utility in the immediate term. And a lot of them, I'd probably say at least maybe a lot of these prices we've looked at, I'm just going to say about 25% of them will have immediate term utility built into the price. And as soon as that goes away, there will probably be like another like 10, 15, 20% haircut on auction prices potentially. Who knows? For some of the bigger players that's less likely, but some of these guys who I say are not household names or not sexy guys that everyone wants in their team, some bargains will definitely be there to be had, and it really comes back to the top for you when you get these guys playing. They start winning cards, you're having fun, you're engaging in the game and all the rest of it. But because there is a nice kind of size here for playing 2 teams, if things go great, you can play 3 teams, you know, or if things are going terrible with like what's going on, fixtures and form and whatever, maybe you've only got 1 team. But that gives you a nice base to build off of. And then if one of these guys were to pop, like you'd be picking up, say we were speaking about Vanakin or any of these guys, if they were to double in price in like November, you have a lot of buffer there where you could just say, oh, do you know what, I can sell that guy now because I've still got Hadzimetovic, I've still got McGregor, I've still, that Bernardo, he's actually playing every week now and he's doing pretty well price wise. I might hang on to him and sell the Vanakin because he's doing so well. Those options then become available to you, and when you have those options available to you, you can actually grow your club in the best way possible. And you just need to look at my activity on the platform for the last 2 years. That's always the way I try and attack these situations where I'm looking to get in. I've been doing it for the last year and a bit, especially on like individual positions, but there's a lot to be said for doing it, especially with limited cards, with a strategy in mind, you know, of like these guys that will have midweek utility, are dominant domestically for the weekends, are nailed on as much as it gets starting cards for the teams in question. And as I said earlier, I like to limit risk. I like to limit how much of this I'm leaving up to chance. You know, all I'm leaving up to chance with all these guys is injury, form, and, you know, form, fixture, and fitness, you know, the 3 Fs, which none of us have any control over, you know. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and retweet, all that good stuff. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Let's get into all the giveaway stuff before I let you go. I'm still doing monthly giveaways and I'm making it easier to enter. If you want to be entered to win this month's prize or any future giveaways here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, you need to be a subscriber to enter, then leave a comment down below. Each month, a random comment from a random video will be selected as the winner, so the more videos you leave a comment on, the better the chance you've got of winning any of my giveaways. All the winners are announced at the end of videos the same way as we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. On screen now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.